Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For cables, connectors, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for another edition of Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 44, The Meaning of 75, with Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship President Brian Linn, KD0HII, recorded live on Thursday, December 22nd, 2016. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship President Brian Linn, KD0HII, and we will take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week on the show, Rick Garrett, N9GSU, was here to talk about ways to grow your local club and shared some ham radio comedy. So if you missed the show, you can listen anytime. All you have to do is go to hamtalklive.com and pull that up, or you can listen on a podcast from iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud, most of those other podcasting sites too, and even over on YouTube. As you listen tonight, we would hope that you would think of some questions you'd like to ask and call in with those. So after we get through the interview section, I'll let you know. And you can call us on Skype at the username Ham Talk Live, or you can call us by telephone. That telephone number is 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Or if you don't want to call in, you can tweet us at Ham Talk Live as well. We would love to have your questions and even some comments if you want on the show. Tweet those to us, or better yet, give us a call, 812-NET-HAM1, and join us on the show. We'd really like for you to do that. So we'll let you know when it's time to do that. We're going to get to know Brian a little bit first and talk about a few things, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll take your calls. So again, that number to have handy is 812-NET-HAM1. And I'll be back with Brian Linn, KD0HII, right after this word from the Ham Station, right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by the Ham Station. For over 37 years, the Ham Station has sold new and used radios, antennas, accessories, and equipment to hams everywhere. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or order online at hamstation.com. Ham Station carries all the major brands like ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood, and they have a wide selection of radio scanners, MFJ accessories, Heil sound products, amplifiers by Mirage and Ameritron, Cushcraft antennas, and more. Easy online ordering is at hamstation.com or call 1-800-729-4373 to place an order and talk it over with the experts. The Ham Station, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
All I want for Christmas is a TS990 and to listen to another episode of Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. The Ham Station has you covered. For both new and used equipment, give Dan or Jeff a call, 800-729-4373, or you can go to hamstation.com. Tell them you heard it on Ham Talk Live. We're on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at hamtalklive.com. And if you missed the show, you can listen to the archive on the website as well, or you can download it from most popular podcasting services. Our guest tonight is Brian Linn, KD0HII. He lives in Johnston, Iowa. He is currently the president of Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship, or CARF. Brian has a Bachelor of Science in Finance and a minor in History from Virginia Tech's R.B. Pamplin College of Business, and serves as the Director of Settlement Accounting for TMG of Des Moines, Iowa. Prior to joining TMG, Mr. Linn served as controller for Harmonia Incorporated, located within the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center at Blacksburg, Virginia. An entrepreneur at heart, Mr. Linn joined startup Experinet of Annapolis, Maryland in 2004 as Vice President of Operations. And from 1991 through the majority of 2004, he was Director of Finance and Technology for Language Learning Enterprises Incorporated of Washington, D.C. In 1993, he was instrumental in the creation of an over-the-telephone language interpretation service, LLE Link, by applying innovative concepts in the use of computer telephony technology. In 1986, Mr. Linn joined Flame Services Incorporated of Vienna, Virginia as general manager before becoming as vice president and part owner of the vending and office coffee service enterprise. Brian has served as president of the Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship for the past 3 years, and CARF meets on the air Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern on 3930 megahertz. So, Brian, thank you for coming on Ham Talk Live tonight.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So, Brian, we've been talking for a few weeks here on email, and I kind of told you a little bit of the story here. When I started doing the show in February, I started off with coming up with, some of the things that I wanted to do, some little catchphrases and stuff. And so one of the things I always did was I signed off with both 73 and 75. And then, may the good DX be yours. Now, may the good DX be yours is kind of a play on the old WKRP in Cincinnati, newsman Les Nessman, that always signed off with, may the good news be yours. So I kind of changed that around. And as hams, we know what 73 means. It's best wishes, but a lot of people have asked me, and I admit I did this on purpose, what 75 means, and I've had people go and look up all these old Western Union message codes and everything, and they're like, we can't find anything about 75. We can't find anything about 75. What does 75 mean? So tonight I thought I would finally reveal on the show, although I've answered a few emails here and there, what 75 means, and you're the guy to fill everybody in on this. So tell our audience what 75 means and what its history is.
Well, you certainly have gotten the same question we have received a number of times. 75 means, may God bless you and yours. And you're right, it's an addition to the old telegraphy codes popular in the 19th century. The neat thing is, if you're doing this with a key, it's 10 quick keystrokes versus over 60 if you spell it out. So obviously, telegraphers benefit there to use that. We don't know how far back it goes. The CARF group has been around for 50 years. It was started at the North American Christian Convention in Louisville, Kentucky, 1966. There are 50 hams members in that original year. 31 of those now have gone on to be silent keys. But I had the opportunity to speak with one the other night. one of our original founding members, and he said 7.5 has been with the organization as long as he's been with it, which is 50 years. He doesn't remember when we didn't use it, and he also fully believes that it was used by some other organization prior to our using it, but he could not remember back those 50 years. Now, we did look up and see that the first CARF newsletter was signed with 7.5 back in September of 1966.
So it's been around for a long time, but if you don't listen to a CARF net or know about CARF, then chances are you didn't hear about it.
No, and I think we're the only folks I know that use it. I've gone out there and searched. I've never heard it used on air otherwise. We only use it at the CARF net. So if you hear 75, you're probably listening to the Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship net.
Oh, there you go. So now you guys know what 7.5 means. That's what it means, and we sign off with that every week, as long as I don't run out of time and get too long-winded. So we try to throw that in there every week. So when I was a kid, I joined CARF. I'm number 197, and one of the things that CARF did was provide a place on the air for missionaries to check in with people back home in the United States, and even provide some equipment so the missionaries could have some kind of direct line home when other means of communications were not possible. And in some of these remote locations that missionaries would go to, that was always quite a problem, and that was their only live link back home. Sometimes mail would take, over a month, and maybe there'd only be one phone line in the village, or you may have to go to another town to get on a phone line. And so we ran a lot of phone patches, for missionaries and family and friends, and a lot of missionaries did the same kind of thing. And I was QSL manager for a long time, for one. And now we've got the internet, and of course the internet isn't everywhere yet, but satellite phone technology is available everywhere. And so since that's become more affordable and available, ham radio is pretty much a recreational activity for those missionaries now. So tell us, now that that's kind of taken over, how has the mission of CARF and helping out people in the mission field is kind of changed with the times?
Well, it certainly has, and obviously some of us are sad to see that those days are gone, but we're also excited about these new technologies, and we have morphed a little bit in what we do. And one of the things we do is we do go to the Dayton Hamvention occasionally, and the purpose of that is not just to recruit members, but it's to be there and show the ham community that there is a Christian organization, on ham radio, so you can get in and participate in nets and become part of the service that way. So that's one thing we've done to continue showing, if you will, the gospel there. Another thing we had an opportunity to do, we combined our love of radio with spreading the gospel. There's a radio station down in Peru, Radio Achasqui. It's located in Urubamba, just outside Cusco. And it went on the air in 1992. They do AM, FM, and shortwave. And new transmitters were installed over the years for AM and for FM and shortwave. But the AM station, that transmitter was never replaced. And finally, it got old and died. And of course, as with most organizations, the Peruvian version of the FCC said, hey, you've got to keep your transmitter on the air. You're going to lose your license and or your frequency. So it was a real problem. What are we going to do? How are we going to get a new transmitter up? They're not cheap. And so CARF was able to come along and learn about this issue, and we were able to provide a substantial financial help to get that AM transmitter purchased and on the air. That's been on the air since about May 31st of 2014. So really kind of exciting for us to continue to participate in radio, spreading the gospel, and yet maybe in a different way than we did initially back in the 1960s.
Well, I felt like this was the perfect time to have you on the show because Christmas is just a few days away when we're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. So tell us how CARF is playing a role in the fellowship of believers who are also ham radio operators.
Well, ham radio is all about relationships because no matter what mode we're running, what band, what country you're talking to or talking from, or the type of equipment, at the end of the day or the end of the contact, it's all about connecting with another human being. And of course, for the CARF net, when we're on air, that connection includes having fun, offering encouragement, prayer, fellowship, listening to other hams, and of course, having a devotion. Those are some of the things we do on our net every day. And the net participants, some of them are unable to get out easily from their shacks to join other believers, go to church, go to events. They simply can't do it because of their health. Well, the radio is great because it overcomes that and allows them to get right out there with the rest of the world. And so we, in our interaction with them, play that role of friend and offer accountability and Christian fellowship. So it's really kind of exciting to do that. And I've had the opportunity to visit some of the members in their homes, including one of our, if you call him a shut-in operator, had that opportunity earlier this year. And that was very exciting to go see him face-to-face and to see what he was facing and know that we can play an encouraging role in that. And, it is Christmas time, you mentioned. And for Christians, Christmas is all about a relationship with Christ. Christ came to earth as a baby for the purpose of reconciling man with God. Now, that's about the most important connection a human being can make. And we know that some of those listening to our net are not Christian. And so this allows us an opportunity to illustrate the love of God, the same love that he showed for us in sending his son, Christ, to earth.
Very, very good. A couple of other questions just came to mind. If you're tuning into a CARF net for the first time, and you just turn on the radio and get the frequency in at the proper time, give me a little bit of a rundown of what to expect. How does the order of the net go, and what should somebody expect by jumping in on there?
Well, of course, there's a pre-net that goes on, starts anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes before. And then as the hour rolls around, we do call it, and there is a preamble that people will hear. And they'll say Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship and talk about our frequency and our time. So then we've obviously written down a few of the call signs from the pre-net. We'll run through those and ask for additional check-ins, invite everybody else out there to check in. A lot of folks will hang back and listen a few times before they check in to kind of get the feel of how the net goes. But I encourage people, go ahead and check in. We'll carry you through. It is a directed net, so that's about the only thing that confuses people. Sometimes they want to jump right in, and in our case, we do take and then call the roll as we go through, and we'll pick up additional stations every quarter hour.
Okay, very good. And then how long do you guys usually stay on?
We run about 30 to 45 minutes. Generally, we'll have 2 quarters after the hour. There's additional stations yet desiring to check in. And then we'll get to the devotion. We'll have a wrap-up prayer and sometimes some final comments from the net participants. And anywhere between about 35 minutes to 45 minutes is our average length of the net.
Okay, very good. And I've been by the booth at Dayton many times, and I know that you typically have a sign-in sheet there where you can kind of have a visitor's log kind of thing, and I've signed that. And obviously you're doing some promotion there. But tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you do there with the booth at Dayton.
Well, it's fun to talk to people and encourage them. And some are just coming by and saying, "Hey, we're glad to see somebody out here in the Christian sector on the air," and they like to see that. They want to encourage. A lot of discussion goes on about what churches they go to and their own experience with ham radio. And then we even talk about our Christian walk sometimes and get into discussing how it's going and what we can do to encourage one another. That occurs at the Dayton Hamvention as well. But it's mostly just an opportunity to be there and provide answers for questions. I know we've given out Bibles, we've given out other information, answering questions. We'll have a lot of people sign in. There might be 50 to 90 different folks who stop by there and take the time to sign in, having an extensive conversation with us.
Very good. Well, we're going to take a break here and pay a few of the bills. But we're going to come back. We're going to take your calls. We've already got a couple of messages coming in by text here, so we'll get to those, and we will invite you all to call in and talk to Brian. And if you have any questions or comments, get those ready to go, and we'll be back here shortly to tell you when to do that after this message from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you in part by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the Ham's Dime store since 1978. When you need connectors, mobile and handheld antennas, cables, or adapters, visit Scott or Jill at a Hamfest near you. Or you can order online at pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, SMA adapters, audio cables, soldering supplies, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even used on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics carries MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro products. And don't miss their 0% off sale going on now. Tower Electronics, online at pl-259.com. Proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Coming to you live from the glass enclosed Faraday box. Here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live. Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
Thanks once again to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight to help bring you Ham Talk Live. They will be at the Bat Cave, the warehouse for Tower Electronics in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Christmas Eve to celebrate the birth of Jesus, but they'll be back on the road to a Hamfest near you soon. In the meantime, you can call them at 920-435-2973 or visit their website at pl-259.com. Tell them you heard it on Ham Talk Live, and be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com. Also check out our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. Just search for Ham Talk Live. You won't have any trouble finding us. Well, it's time for your calls now, so if you have a question or comment for Brian, give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype your question. Our username is Ham Talk Live. Or you can tweet us. The Twitter handle is at Ham Talk Live. So send in your comments and your questions, and we'll be happy to address those. So before we get to one question, I see that Lloyd sent in here. Brian, take us through a little bit about how to find out more information about CARF and anything else about the net that you want to get to everybody here.
Well, certainly, Neil. One of the first ways to find out more about the CARF net is Monday through Saturday, never on Sunday, at 1100 UTC in the summer and 1200 UTC in the winter on 3930 kilohertz. Stop by that frequency during those times, and you will get to know everyone on the CARF net. You can also find out more about us at our website, www.carf.net, www.carf.net.
All right, very good. And that frequency again is 3930. So you have to get up in the morning and get on 3930. Well, I do have a question here from Lloyd, KC5FM. He wants to ask about WA9VQL and his remote hams software that he uses to check into the net from South America.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way. WA0VQL uses that to check in. He's a longtime member, and he'll call in through remote hams. That's a wonderful piece of software and allows missionaries like Mark to participate in the net here stateside. He's not the only one who uses it, and there are others from around the world who can use remote hams. It is a wonderful system that allows you to, over the internet, take control of a station in another place. And we use a couple of stations here in the United States, and Mark is able to do that and thereby join us from his apartment. Of course, in an apartment, it's difficult for him to get out on 75 meter or other HF frequencies, and remote hams solves that problem. And if you're interested in, if you don't have a lot of radio gear or you're kind of stuck in an apartment situation, check out remotehams.com. Remotehams.com. Download that software and join us on 3930 kilohertz.
Yeah, and we've got a comment here on the website from Clarence, WDX5FOY. He's a shortwave listener, and he says that he's listening to the program tonight, and he says you might say something about the shortwave listening monitoring, that he tunes in on remote hams as well. So anything about the SWLs?
Well, we have a number that check in with us, and Clarence is certainly one that we see it a lot on remote hams, but he's not the only one. There are a number of fellows that check in from all over the world, and not necessarily we're getting some from Muslim countries, believe it or not. And so it's very interesting, the diversity of the individuals listening in on our net each morning. It's kind of exciting. I've had some email conversations offline with them and been very wonderful conversations. A great fellowship we've had, and it's good to uplift others and show the love of Christ.
All right, very good. Well, again, the phone number, 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Give us a call if you have something to add to the conversation or question for Brian. Be sure to call in, 812-NET-HAM1, or you can tweet us at Ham Talk Live. While we're waiting for some more questions and comments to come in, Brian, what are some of the things that you'd like to see CARF accomplish in the future? Now, I know your 3-year stint is up, and you're going to be handing the reins over as president soon. But what are some of the things that you hope to see CARF doing in the future?
Well, I want to make sure that we continue to encourage ham radio operators in their daily walk with God by providing solid net opportunity each morning, and giving them an opportunity to become members of the organization to help lead and serve in that. There are many things we do, and we'd love to have people come and be part of that. That's something we want to see more of. I obviously want to provide an opportunity to answer questions about your personal relationship with God through Christ. We're here, or we can answer them by email, we can answer them on the net. We're certainly open to conversations about that and answering any questions that ham radio operators may have. We're also looking for opportunities to combine our love of radio with helping to spread the gospel. We gave the example earlier of Radio Chosky down in Peru, and a wonderful opportunity there. We're always looking for things. So if you're out there and you're listening, and you've got an idea that we can help with, a way to bridge those two, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you be part of the Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship.
Okay, and Lloyd, KC5FM, has another question here. He wants to know if there's a prayer list for ham radio folks.
Yes, there is. We maintain a prayer list, and we keep each week that is updated faithfully. And that way it's out there so the members can pray over other members, but it's not just members we pray for. We take in requests from Christians about any number of subjects. We encourage by praying for them, and that is maintained each week. And that way everybody can go over that list and pray for these various individuals who need uplifting throughout the week.
Very good. 812-NET-HAM1 is the number, or Skype us at Ham Talk Live. We have a few minutes remaining, so if you have something to ask Brian, feel free to jump in, or something to comment on. If you've had an experience with CARF, why jump on in here. It's 812-NET-HAM1 812-638-4261. Okay, I see Clarence added us. Maybe he'll call in here in a second. I see that he's added us on Skype. How many people are typically checking in on a regular basis?
Oh, we have, it varies, of course, anywhere from 15 to 25. Obviously, during the summer months when 75 meter is not quite as favorable, it's harder to check in. But if you use remote hams and you combine that with the winter months, it's quite easy to get above 20 checking in each day. And it's not the same people every day. There's obviously a schedule in there, and people's lives vary, so we have different individuals checking in each of those days of the week.
Very good. 812-NET-HAM1 is that number, 812-638-4261. We'll give you a couple of more minutes to call in or chime in here on our Christmas show with Brian Linn, KD0HII, the president of Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship. Now, I mentioned that you're going to be handing off the presidency soon. Tell us about the new group of officers coming in.
Well, we have 3 years as the limit for our officers that you can serve consecutively. And we have a new president coming in next year, AC0BD, Michael Miller. He's also an Iowan, not too far from me in Polk City, Iowa. He's our incoming president, and he has served the past year as our vice president. It's exciting to have him join us. He's a father, a husband, a Boy Scout leader, and a teacher at one of the local high schools, and very much involved with young people, very excited about spreading the gospel and becoming more involved in the CARF group. We have a new officer this year, KD0HII, that's Mark, and he's out of Kentucky. He's joining us as our vice president this year, and he's not served before. This is his first opportunity as an officer, so it's really good to have him aboard. And we have returning secretary-treasurer in K4REE. Bob is a longtime member of CARF, and he is also our webmaster. We're really, really pleased to have this group of officers going into 2017.
Very good. Lloyd, again, wants to know, when is all CARF check-in day, and what's the record number of check-ins that you have?
Well, he may stump me on the second one, but the first part of that is January 28th, 2017. That's a Saturday morning, and we encourage everybody to join in. That's where we try to get everybody out there. I do not know the record number. Our secretary-treasurer probably does, but I don't. I know that we can have a lot of folks check in that day, particularly this past year. It's our 50th anniversary, so all CARF check-in day for 2016 brought a number of people. It seems like we had on the order of 40 to 50 stations in that morning. It was quite an exciting morning. So join us January 28th, 2017 for all CARF check-in day.
Very good. I'll have to try to get in there. The time is always tough for me. I'm honestly not that much of a morning person, and then when I teach, it's like I've got to get out the door, and so maybe we can make a point to do that Saturday and get in there. So again, that's 3930 is where the CARF net meets. So you can jump in on that day or any other day, but if we get a chance, get in there specifically on January 28th. All right. Well, Lloyd's typing again. So let me see if he's got anything here. We're gonna wrap things up here pretty shortly. So if you want to call, that number is 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261 to be on the show. And Lloyd says that he'll conveniently give me a wake-up call. So, well, I got the antenna fixed, so that was another thing too. So I'll have to get back in there on the net. So, Brian, is there anything else you want to want to talk about here before we finish up? We'll give you a couple of minutes here to do whatever. I'm checking to see if we've got any more messages on here, and we'll give people another minute or so to call. But anything else you want to throw in?
Well, you're not the only one who suffers from being captured by the blanket monster. There are some who check into the net, and regulars always on the pre-net, and they come in there at 2 quarters after the hour, and I've been guilty of it myself. Fortunately, never on the morning. I was serving as net control. Now, that's always embarrassing if you're NCS and you oversleep that morning. That's not happened to me yet. But it's always good to start the day with the fellowship. It kind of helps me get my day started. I get up and listen to some guys, think about somebody else other than myself, get in some fellowship, a devotional. Great way to start the day, an uplifting way to start the day. And 3930 kilohertz, Monday through Saturday at 1100 UTC in the summer and 1200 UTC in the winter. We'd love to have you join us.
Very good. Well, Clarence wants to know, can people still get the special 50th anniversary certificate, and says that he proudly displays his in his shack?
Well, you certainly can. Anyone who checks into the net during the 2016 year, our 50th anniversary, will be sent a 50th anniversary certificate. And if you have one of those and you would like a 50th anniversary t-shirt, guess what? We've got some of those left as well.
All right, very good. So celebrating 50 years on the radio. It's Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship, and we want to thank you, Brian, for coming on, and thanks to Lloyd and Clarence and everybody for chiming in tonight. It's always more fun when we have some questions from the audience here. So thanks so much for coming on, and best of luck with the net in another 50 years.
Well, thank you very much. I doubt I'll be here 50 years from now, but I'll tell you what, thank you so much for having us on, especially here around Christmas time, a very special time for the Christian Amateur Radio Fellowship Net. We thank you very much, Neil.
All right. Well, that's Brian Linn, KD0HII. That is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in and typing in. And I'll invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time when Emmett Honnessy III, W0QH, the chief engineer at Radio Waves, will be here to take your antenna building questions. So next week, it's Antenna Building 101. So have all your questions ready for Emmett, and he's going to talk a little bit about making antennas out of stuff you've already got laying around. So that's coming up next week right here on Ham Talk Live. So don't miss Emmett. Emmett's always a good guy to have around. He knows his antennas. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure to visit hamtalklive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.